Hi everybody, Matt Birney. You're taking a look at the featured event from Keeneland Racecourse on Sunday afternoon, October the 21st. Race number 8, the Grade 3 Dowager, a mile and a half on the turf course. Before we dive into the field, I'd encourage you to head on over to DRF Bets. Take a look at the latest sign-up offer for DRF Bets members. You get all the details, bets.drf.com. Let's take a look at this field. We'll take them right in post position order. It's a mile and a half race, obviously a test of stamina. Some of these horses are a little bit better suited for the distance than others. The number 1, Viva Vegas, is a bit of an interesting entrant in here for Derek Ryan. Most recently, a pretty game second place finish in the Violet. That was at Monmouth Park, going a shorter distance at a mile and an eighth. Back on September the 1st, ran into Elysia's World, ran into Bishop's Pond. Bishop's Pond was the next out winner with an 86 buyer. Elysia's World earned an 87 in her next start. If you believe that 93, Viva Vegas is arguably one of the horses to beat. It also is nice to note that she has some good early speed, and we've seen plenty of times in the past that speed can kill in these long distance races. She projects to be forwardly placed, and speaking of that, let's take a look at that Timeform US pace projector. Perhaps it works against her a little bit, though. You see that red bar indicating a fast pace, perhaps working against the horses that are going to be forwardly placed. You have the 1 out there along with the 7. They'll be contesting things early on, according to Timeform US, with the 9 sitting in just behind. If you believe that 93, Viva Vegas is interesting. Let's talk about the number 2, English Affair, a little bit for Rusty Arnold, Brian Hernandez Jr. with the mount. Most recently, disappointing effort at Kentucky Downs. I'm going to just chalk it up and say the horse doesn't like the course. It's this instance where some horses take to that sort of unique configuration, others don't. I'm going to hope that English Affair did not like that. 2 starts back, that run at Ellis Park, I thought it was pretty good. A very good trip, all things considered. Saved ground down on the inside. And I understand couldn't quite get to the winner, but On Betty G is a pretty solid horse in her own right. She came back and earned an 85 buyer in her next start. I thought all things considered English Affair, it was a solid enough effort. The pedigree would suggest that the additional distance isn't an issue, and I like the way that she galloped out in that run 2 starts back. You need to be forgiving if you like a horse like this, because the most recent run was basically a non-effort. I'm going to hope that that all had to do with Kentucky Downs. Let's move on to number 3, Savannah Bell. Savannah Bell is another horse that you can make a little bit of an interesting case for. I can understand anyone that looks at it and says 3 for 18 lifetime, 8 times second or third, not a horse that you really want to be trusting on top. But you look at that Glens Falls, that race, considerably better horses. Take a look at the first and second place finishers. They came back and earned 92 and 98 buyers in their next start, and even the 4th place finisher, she came back to earn a 101. 2 starts back in the way out, washed off the turf, draw a line through that. 3 starts back, you've got the River Memories at Belmont Park at a mile and a half. That, to me, is the most representative indicative effort for Savannah Bell in a spot like this. Usually discreetly mines, I would expect them to want to go shorter. Seems like she really appreciates going long here for Brian Lynch. I think Savannah Bell is interesting at a longer price in this spot. The number 4, She's a Prado for Mike Maker. We know Maker, he has a penchant for getting these horses to be very, very good going longer distances. Unfortunately for this filly, I just don't really think the talent is there to match up with that ability going longer. She's got a career best buyer of 81. Simply put, I don't think that's fast enough. I think you're going to need something approaching a 90 in order to prevail in this race, the Dowager, on Sunday afternoon. The number 5, Daring Duchess, one of the other Mike Maker horses in here. This is the one that I think most people are going to look at and say, she is the horse to beat, and I understand why. She's done some good things in the past. She is a stakes winner a number of times over. Most recently, the Canadian up at Woodbine, you want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Mile and an eighth, probably a little bit sharp for her. I think she really likes to sort of go with those longer distances and get out there and dictate things. The problem for her that day up at Woodbine, she had some company from New Money Honey early on. The pace ended up being very, very fast, and she paid the price. I think she makes some sense in here, but there's also part of me that believes the 2018 version of Daring Duchess is not as good as the 2017 version was, and also hard to ignore the fact that she is 0 for 5 at Keeneland, and she's only hit the board on 1 occasion. Keeneland can be a little bit of a tricky turf course, horse for course angle. She may be the anti-horse for course. To me, Daring Duchess, she makes some sense. I'm going to try to beat her at a relatively short price. The 6 is Ambaselli. This is a horse for Jim Cassidy coming in from Southern California. I've always been a little bit of a fan of hers. The problem is she doesn't like to win races. She's 2 for 22 overall and 11 times second or third. But also, she runs to her competition. So when she's in a Grade 1 race, she's going to come with a little bit of a late bid, as she did in that most recent run, the Rodeo Drive. She finished fifth, beating 4.5 lengths. But she'll also run to lesser competition. You saw 2 starts back in that, CTT and TOC. She ran just sort of a mundane third. I don't think you can trust her as far as a win contender is concerned, but I would certainly be using her underneath. Mike Smith is listed on the mount. Number 7 is Beach Flower for Mac Robertson. This is a horse that's very interesting to me because each of the past 3 starts have come in blinkers. To me, they're her 3 best starts by far. The question you have to ask yourself as a handicapper for a horse like Beach Flower, when you look at her, she's 5 of 19 overall on a fast main track. She has tried the turf on 5 occasions. She is winless. She's run second or third on 4 different occasions, though I think she could work at a pretty cushy trip in this spot, all things considered. But there's a part of me that thinks that she's probably better on the main track as opposed to the grass. She's interesting, though, at a longer price. The number 8 is Resipsa. Now, Resipsa is a horse that, from a talent standpoint, I think is every bit as good, if not better, than most of this field. The concern I have is this distance. Now, the run most recently at Kentucky Downs, that was in the Ramsey Farm Stakes. I know the short comment says bold, bid inside, and hung. To me, it was sort of a stereotypical or prototypical, however you want to look at it. It was the effort of a horse that just doesn't want to go that far, because she actually had everything go very, very well down on the inside, kicked through, took the lead at one point, and looked she was going off on this thing and she was going to get the job done, but she just flattened out very, very badly down the stretch. And again, Kentucky Downs is a little bit of an undulating, odd turf configuration. My bigger point is I don't think she wants this distance. I think she's best at a mile, mile and a 16th, maybe a mile and an 1/8. Getting out to a mile and a half, I don't love her chances, and I think she's going to get bet in here because she's a little bit of a name going out for some nice connections. Resipsa, she's a talented horse. I don't think the distance is her friend. The number 9 is Rahway, another Mike Maker horse in here. And again, very similar to one of the other Maker horses. I hate to say it, I just don't think from a talent standpoint it's there. She has career best buyers of 76. She has paired those up in each of her past 2 races. Usually I think that precedes a forward move. Having said that, it needs to be a significant forward move for her to be a fringe contender at the very best. And the number 10 rounding out this field is Vexatious. We've seen Vexatious, the 2 most recent starts anyway. They've tried to stretch her out, has Neil Drysdale. 2 starts back, it worked out. She got the job done in that CTT and TOC down at Del Mar going a mile and 3/8. But the big difference there is it was against inferior company. We've all talked about it. The horses in Southern California, particularly the grass mares, they're just not up to par with the rest of the country and even the rest of the world when you consider she went up, and I understand it was an ambitious placement. The Grade 1 Northern Dancer against older males, not an easy spot for any kind of horse, especially a horse like Vexatious. I just don't think, from a figure standpoint, I get it. She's a little bit interesting and she fits in here. I don't think she's totally out of the question. I just don't love her chances in here. And again, I feel like if she goes off somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 to 1 range, to me, that's an underlay. I think she should be at least double digits, if not closer to the 15 to 1 sort of situation. So it is an interesting race. You can go a few different ways in the Grade 3 Dowager. It's a mile and a half on the turf course at Keeneland. We're going to take a look and see where I ultimately landed. I'm going to go with the 2 English Affair. I think English Affair is an interesting case just simply because I don't think she appreciated Kentucky Downs most recently. And if you go back and you watch that Kentucky Downs preview, the ladies' turf from Ellis Park, I thought it was a pretty good effort. I know she had a beautiful trip throughout. She was down on the inside. But the way that she finished and the way that she galloped out suggests to me that additional distance is not going to be an issue for her. I believe she's 8 to 1 on the morning line. I think English Affair is a little bit interesting in here for Rusty Arnold and BJ Hernandez. I'm going to go 2, 3, 6, 8. In the 8th at Keeneland on Sunday, it is the featured event, the Grade 3 Dowager. If you're playing the Dowager, any other races from Keeneland on Sunday, any other races anywhere on Sunday, DRF Bets is the way to go. Head on over to bets.drf.com for all the latest as far as offers and details are concerned. Scheduled post time for race number 8 down at Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky on Sunday, the Grade 3 Dowager, 4:57 Eastern. Good luck.